Okay, so good day everyone. Good day grade 12, 11. So for today we're going to discuss the continuation of our chapter 3, social responsibility of entrepreneurs of business ethics and social responsibility. Yeah. And then we're going to discuss the business dilemmas. Okay, so what is ethical dilemmas, no? Iset aside natin yung business. So ethical dilemma muna. So an ethical dilemma is a moral situation in which a choice has to be made between two equally undesirable alternatives. Dilemmas may arise out of various sources of behavior or attitude. As for instance, it may arise out of failure of personal character, conflict of personal values, and organizational goals. Yan, or organizational goals versus social values. So ethics is a very important consideration when running any type of business. So for example, breaching ethical principles deliberately to get an advantage in business is considered by many a mortal sin. Yan, mga breaching ng mga informations, ng mga sensitive na information ng isang company, no, yung pagbe-breach nun ay isa sa tinuturing na mortal sin sa isang business. Okay? So, a business dilemma naman exists when an organizational decision maker faces a choice between two or more options that will various impacts on the organization's profitability and competitiveness, and its stakeholder. In situation of this kind, one must act out of prudence to take a better decision. So again, for the ethical dilemmas in business, these are common in business, no? And actually, we have processes and procedures about the how to maintain yung mga ethics in the business. You will be surprised to know that there are many potential sources of ethical conflicts in business, and they can be committed by both entrepreneur and consumer, by employee and then the employer. So given this, it is a must for all the business to know more about these dilemmas. So here we have these following questions. Why is discussing ethical dilemmas important? Yan, lalo na pag mag-work na kayo, marami tayong mga challenges na may encounter sa workplace, and this might challenge our ethical, no? Yung ethics natin. So ethics is something that any organization would say is important. This is especially so in institutions such as business, where being ethical is considered to be highly valuable. Then, why is discussing ethical dilemmas important for the business of all scales? So we have the following list. So first, it helps maintain good business practice. So perhaps the main reason why discussing ethical dilemma is important is because it helps maintain good business practices. Yan. Lots of companies run into problems because they failed to follow the unwritten rules of the business. Yan. And understanding business ethics and the dilemmas tied up to it allows leaders to improve their business practices so that they stay compliant to ethical norms of the industry. The next is number 2, it is good for both sales and reputation. So following the rules of the good business ethics can be good for both your sales and the reputations of both your company and its employees. You get the respect of your consumers if they know that you are operating how businesses should be operating, which further enhances your company's image. So when a company's image is strong, it almost always translates to better sales number, which results in better profit margins. Yan. Therefore, improve your business image by following the ethical practices. So yun, kung meron tayong magandang reputasyon, lalo na sa industry nyo, and sa paningin ng mga consumers natin, ayan. So, makakagain din tayo ng sale. Number 3, it is one of the keys to creating strong, well-run organizations. So, there are many steps to develop a first-class business organization. One of the ways to do is to create a strong foundation based on good and ethical business practices. And so, establishing ethics as a part of your organization sets the standard of how employees will perform their transactions. So yun, actually, nagiging part din to ng contract ng isang employee pag, pag i-hire na sila ng isang company. So may mga list ng mga do's and don'ts. So yun, kasi syempre, maaaring yung effect kasi nung gagawin mo, baka makasama doon sa organization, no? And as well as meron tayong mga trainings and developments in the company on how to exercise yung ethics natin. So it is also set the tone for future employees to follow once they become part of your business. Number 4, it helps prevent committing ethical violation. Yeah, so committing ethical violations can cause complications that have significant impacts on most businesses. Aside from the financial backlash from such offenses, there is also potentially irreversible effect of such action on the company's reputation. Understanding the different kinds of ethical dilemmas and what commonly causes them will give you an idea on how to resolve them, and more importantly, how to prevent them from happening in the first place. Ayun, syempre pag hindi na ganun kaganda yung reputation ng isang company, hindi naman siya basta-basta agad nalilinis, no? Lalo na pag nadungisan yung reputation ng isang business. Hindi agad-agad siya, or maaaring hindi na siya maayos pa. So, dapat dinidiscuss natin yung mga ethical dilemmas, kung paano natin mape-prevent yung mga bad decisions natin, and how to maintain our good reputation. Number 5, it guides leaders in resolving present ethical conflicts. An understanding of ethical dilemmas will give you a better idea on how you can resolve them should they arise. Resolution of ethical dilemmas ensures efficient operations, keep employee morale high, enhances the strength of leadership, and improves the public profile of the companies. Yan. So, pag knowledgeable tayo on how to handle ethical dilemmas, and as much as possible, mapili natin yung mga tamang desisyon. Yan. Yan. So, challenge din siya sa mga leaders, no? Kung ano yung mga tamang decision na hindi makakasira sa reputasyon ng isang company. And as well as sa mga employees din, challenge din siya kung paano natin ma-avoid yung mga maling decision, no? Na makakasama sa reputasyon ng business nyo or ng company na pinapasukan mo. So we have the following causes of ethical dilemmas. So ethical dilemmas exist in different forms at different organizational levels. So different factors cause these dilemmas. So understanding the different causes of ethical dilemmas will help you in coming up with the best solution to these problems while improving your chances of avoiding future incidents. Here are some of the most common reasons why ethical dilemmas exist in both the individual and organizational level. First is the ignorance. Okay? So there are situations wherein unethical practices are being done by some people because they are not aware that such acts are considered unethical. While ignorance cannot be considered as an excuse for inappropriate behavior, it does happen from time to time. There are many reasons why such ignorance exists, including lack of education, cultural norms, and the like. When people are not aware that such acts are wrong, they tend to continue without learning, no? So yon, kahit naman sa batas ng Pilipinas, no, hindi excuse na yung ignorance. So hindi mo pwedeng i-excuse na hindi ko po kasi alam yung batas, hindi ko po siya nabasa. So hindi yun magiging excuse, no? So being the employee of the organization, dapat knowledgeable ka sa lahat ng nangyayari. The rules, the regulations, the standards, the do's and don'ts, and meron tayong skills, no, to know kung may effect ba siya sa reputation ng isang business. So hindi pwedeng ignorante ka, no? That is why ito rin yung mga reasons kung bakit minsan mataas yung standard ng ng mga companies pag nagpapa-apply sila ng mga bagong employees, no, pag may mga new hire. Kaya minsan mataas yung standard nila, no, kung bakit 4 years, kung kaya naman pala siyang trabahuhin ng mga hindi nakagraduate, bakit kailangan pa ng graduate, di ba? So, yun yung mga reasons. Kasi maaaring may mga hindi alam yung mga hindi nakagraduate about ethics. Yan. Kasi ang ethics, more likely, pinag-aaralan siya sa lalo na pag mga business ethics, yan, pinag-aaralan siya sa school. Okay? Next is the discrimination. Yan. Discrimination is also one of the most important causes of inappropriate behavior. Yan, corporate behavior. There are different types of discrimination. They can involve variables such as race. Yan. So, kung galit sa Asian, galit sa Black, ayan, madalas na nangyayari to, lalo na pag dayo ka lang naman from the other countries. Yan, so, nagiging cause din siya ng mga unethical, no? Yan. Next is sex. For example, female and female. So, pag sa business kasi, mas madalas na napapaboran ang mga male, no? Yun. And the nationality, age, age and the sexual orientation. Yan. So for the age, minsan kasi pag sobrang bata mo, pero sobrang talino mo naman, minsan hindi ka pa rin kino-consider for the promotion kasi masyado ka pang bata, no? Mas sinuuna nila yung mga may age na. So minsan nakaka-affect din siya sa sa ethical, no? Kung pasok naman yung knowledge niya, yung skills niya, why not, 'di ba? Dahil ba sa age, hindi naman siguro requirement 'yon. So this has historically caused some of the most unethical acts known to men. While increased social awareness and campaigns have greatly reduced the number of ethical violations in general, people and organizations still commit discrimination in business, both intentional and otherwise. Management pressure, number 3. One of the major causes of ethical dilemma in business is the management pressure. In business setting, being able to meet goals set by the management is an overriding need that pervades all levels of the organization. Individuals of different roles within the business often face a difficult choice, especially during difficult situations. So they ask questions like, should they continue to follow appropriate protocols at the risk of loss? Or should they bend the rules as needed to comply with the bottom line? So when under pressure of management, people may become prone to committing ethical violations. So minsan nagiging cause nga yung management pressure, no? Kaya minsan nagkakaroon ng maling desisyon ng mga subordinates nila or mga employees, no? Kasi nagmamadali, nape-pressure, yan, natatakot. So, hindi nila napag-iisipang mabuti yung mga decisions nila, no? Personal ambition. Yan. Personal ambition is one of the biggest reason why individuals run into ethical dilemmas and occasionally decide on choosing the less ethical path. Whether you are the owner of multiple business or an employee at the bottom of the organizational chain, everyone has their own ambitions. Oftentimes, to fulfill these ambitions, one ends up making a choice that might not be the most ethically appropriate. Ayan, so sa college mas maiintindihan natin kung ano ba yung mga business ethics nung mga courses natin or yung specific na strand natin or yung mga maaaring maging work natin someday, no? Kung accounting, meron tayong mga business ethics in accounting na madalas hindi siya nasusunod in real life, no? Especially sa mga public firms. Yeah, not real against with the public firms, pero most likely nagko-commit sila ng mga unethical dilemmas kasi parang naging part na siya ng ng sistema ng Pilipinas. Ayan, so if we are not used to unethical dilemmas, makukonsensya ka talaga. And I think hindi rin natin masisisi yung mga ibang accountant kasi hindi rin naman sila yung may-ari ng company, no? So, kung ano yung say ng mga top management, wala kang ring magagawa. Yan. Isa ka lang namang hamak na empleyado. Kaya dapat mo silang sundin, no? So, yun. Kapag tingin mo unethical na yung ginagawa ng isang company, mas better na umalis ka na lang. Hanap ka ng mga companies na gumagawa ng ethical, no? Next is leadership last. The progress of an entire business organization is partly dependent on the type of leaders these organizations have. Leaders are tasked to make decisions for the group, weighing all matters, including ethical considerations. Leadership can greatly determine if a business will be run ethically or not. Thus, leaders in the business world should be trained in business ethics so they know exactly what they should do when dilemmas arise. So here are the samples of ethical dilemmas in business. So there are multiple dilemmas that will involve the application of business ethics. All tiers of business must run under the written and unwritten rules of ethics. Both legal and moral aspects can be involved, and the solutions for such dilemmas may not be as simple as just answering a yes or no question. So here are samples of the ethical dilemmas in business commonly observed in all industries, company size, and organizational levels. So first, unsafe working environment. Yan. So maintaining the ideal working environment is a major consideration in business ethics. And so in an ideal world, we want workplaces that have enough security, safety features, and protection from both internal and external threats. Next is yung discrimination. However, when people discriminate in a business setting, it can lead to some problematic practices. The falsification or the forgery. People in business falsify information for a wide variety of reasons. Some examples of falsification include the plagiarism, tampering, and intellectual dishonesty. Espionage. This is one of the most controversial ethical dilemmas in business. Espionage is defined as the illegal acquisition of data from one organization for the benefit of another one, no? For example, isa kang empleyado and then meron kang mga informations na alam. Na for example, meron silang ipapublish na mga designs, yan. And then, ibebenta mo to sa other company na kakompetensya nila. So, yan, madalas natin doon nakikita sa mga mga palabas sa TV, no? Yan. So people hire the business entity to spy on rivals. Former employees who spill information to rival companies to sabotage their former company. People will illegally pick up goods or practices from other business to incorporate. Sure. Yan. One common element found in employment contracts is non-disclosures. So employees should put confidential company information out in public. At the same time, employers shouldn't use the private information of their employees for whatever reason except the individuals consented to it. Yun. So, meron tayong contract, lahat ng nangyayari sa company hindi mo dapat isinisiwalat sa public, no? And at the same time, ganun din yung company sa'yo, no? Lahat ng mga private informations mo, contact number, address, hindi din dapat nila ipinamimigay kung kani-kanino, no? Without your consent. Breaches in privacy. Ayan. So, it is unethical for both employee and employer to divulge information without the implied consent of the other party. So, parang katulad din to sa non-disclosure, no? Improper use of social media. Ayan. So, hindi lahat ng ayan, as you can see dun sa kung ibibisitahin niyo yung Facebook ko, 'di ba? Nakalagay doon, fund accountant at confidential, no? So, hindi lahat ng bagay dapat pino-post natin sa social media, especially pag about sa work, no? Ayan. Kasi maaaring magamit to ng other competitors against your company. Ayan. So, social media is now a big part of our day-to-day lives. It has now become a means to stay updated, communicate with other people, and share one's opinion with the rest of the world. However, there are more than a few cases that people have misused social media, which resulted in some unethical uses. So, mas better na kunyari may work na kayo, huwag niyo masyadong isiwalat yung mga informations na nangyayari sa company nyo, no? Ayan. So, merong mga companies na mahigpit. So, ako sa company namin, wag namin masyadong isinisiwalat kung saan kami nag-work, no? Kasi maaaring magamit yon ng mga competitors against sa kanila. Ayun, baka ma-hack ka, ganyan. Kunyari, ito nakita ko to, empleyado to ng SM. Ayan. So, i-hack natin yung account niya, no? Baka merong mga informations in her account na, na pwede nating magamit against dun sa competitors natin. Okay? So, yun. Yun yung mga examples. So, mas better na wag nating masyadong i-voice out kung saan tayo nag-work. Okay? So, bad accounting practices. Yan. Any financial record not properly done can lead to a potential crisis in the company. So, anything na transactions regarding your company, dapat nire-record natin, no? Yun. Para pag in-audit tayo, lahat ng backups, may mapapakita tayo. And then, any questions from the auditors, meron tayong masasabi, di ba? Okay? So, last, corporate research violation. So, research is at the heart of growth of all forms of industry. However, search performed or sponsored by a particular company may be prone to some ethical dilemmas. For example, there is what you call research bias. So there is a possibility that the business are looking for specific outcomes in the research, resulting to biased methods, results, and evaluation. Okay? So, nagre-research tayo pero meron tayong gustong maging output, no? Kailangan lang natin ng background. Hindi dapat gano'n. Pag magre-research tayo, hindi natin mina-manipulate, no? Kung ano yung mga magiging sagot doon. Okay, what are the possible solutions? Yan, so, resolving ethical dilemmas in business often involves a multi-step approach that must involve all members of the organization. So first, take ethical practices seriously. Yan, may mga code of ethics tayo. So a lot of companies fall into trap of not taking ethics seriously. No, in fact, the most organizations go about their practices blending elements of the business etiquette accordingly to suit their personal needs and agendas. Yan, it is important for the business leaders to start taking ethical practices seriously to prevent these issues from happening to begin with. So, I think kailangan natin isa puso yung mga code of ethics ng work natin. Encourage transparency. No? There should be unbiased check and balance system at the levels of the organization. So anything, especially pag pera, no? Yan, lalo na pag pera yung pinag-uusapan, sweldo, mas maganda kung transparent tayo sa mga empleyado natin, and as an employee, transparent din tayo with the organization. Okay. So third, create the right company culture. Establishing the right company culture is a multi-step process. No, in fact, some companies take years before they get to establish a culture ethical practice. Next is put value in leadership. Beyond creating and enforcing rules, it is important that you lead by example. Otherwise, everyone would just be following suit. Developing character, prioritizing good character in an organization is a must if you want to establish ethical practices as a part of business entity. No? Kaya minsan meron tayong mga 3 levels of interviews, no? Or 2 levels of interview. First, screening ng resume natin or yung CV natin. Yan. Once naman na pumasa ka, okay na yun. Ang i-check na lang nila next nun pag ini-interview ka ay yung attitude mo, no? And yung magiging behavior mo. And so for this lesson, we only have 2 questions. Yan. So give at least 3 causes of ethical dilemmas and explain. Give at least 3 examples of ethical dilemmas you have encountered in school. Ayan. So for example, falsifications like plagiarism. Ayan. Or kunyari ethical dilemmas, for example, deadline, tapos kailangan mo magsulat ng ganito, and then paano mo ma-avoid yung plagiarism, ganyan. Yun, pwede yung ganun. Yan, isa sa example ng ethical dilemmas, mga deadline, pressure na binibigay ng teacher. Yan. So, meron tayong mga examples sa PowerPoint, no? Pwede kayong mamili doon.